read a lot of the Frankfurt School, and then I found an affinity with some of their stuff and post-structuralism, so Derrida mostly. So that's mostly what I read to kind of inform my approach to things.
So what do I read for my project? Deleuze is a huge influence. Bergson, Whitehead, Bataille. The children of those thinkers. So Delanda, Haraway. It's a field that takes materiality seriously, that sort of tries to rethink materiality beyond both its reduction to formations of power and linguistic representations of the problems therein, and but also tries to rescue it from scientific reductions. So folks like Dawkins, who think that science is more than just a narrative, but an access to truth.
I think my main political interest is in environmentalism, environmental politics, and actually a lot of what I'm more interested in is thinking against that kind of temporality, so we can re-ask questions about what has become extinct or what is no longer, and how actually that can inform our thinking, both in like a material sense of another kind of slight kind of misconception about climate change, I think, is that it's so future-oriented that there aren't current and existing problems of it, or it hasn't already had certain impacts. And I think just the thought of the future forecloses on what's already been lost to the past.
Yeah, right, because the really cheap and useless thing would be to start like reading science for its odd diction, or start to like, you know, think through its, to do something different with its concepts than it thinks it's doing with it. That would seem not as exciting.
Yeah.
And so I have the same fear then in trying to like look at placeholder institutional form and do something similar. Like you start to read shit out of novels to talk about this other thing that was the thing you really wanted to read, but you didn't have the right strategy for reading it.
And then the entire, like, all of this essay, which she had gotten grant money to write about Rerum Natura, and like reading it, becomes about this hole in the book. And so, and like but then that becomes the basis for her theorization of like an ethics of reading, which is entirely contingent, and you have to stay open to the contingency, because if you go in there to read Rerum Natura saying like, look, here's what I'm going to get out of it, here's what here are my research goals, here's how I go in, here's where I come out changed, this is what happens from A to B, then you're not actually reading.
Literature of the past 100 years has been deeply marked by writers who thought beyond the solitudes of the local and the national. Worked with a vision of transcontinental solidarities, found innovative ways of reading and imagining each other beyond linguistic particularities.
Bernadette Mayer from Midwinter Day. I know the world is straight ice. I know backwards the grief of life like chance, if I can say that. I can say easily I know you, like the progression from memory to what they call freedom or reason, though it's not reason at all. It's an ideal like anarchism, though it's not an ideal. It's a kind of time that has flown away from causes, or gotten loose from them, pried loose, or used them up, gotten away. No one knows why nothing happens.